Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is episode 2. Amen. I done said amen. I feel like I'm in church already. Well, episode 2 of this season of 2021 of Coffee with Bridgett. And I am so excited about tonight's guest. Let me tell you, tonight's guest, our conversation, our power exchange, our exchange of knowledge has been like second to none. And so I'm excited to actually have Derek Ross here with me tonight. The conversation, I'm telling you, for any entrepreneur or creative that's on here tonight, take out your pen, take out your paper. We're answering questions. We're giving you strategies. We are empowering you tonight. So I promise you, you don't want to miss tonight's lesson. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I am Bridgett Battles, author of Beauty in Her Battle and Style Strategist. And so it is my mission to empower you, to equip you, and to help you to execute your dreams and your vision and look good while doing it. Because you got to match your brand. You have to match what you are speaking about. So without further ado, help me welcome Derek Ross, y'all, to Coffee with Bridgett. Hey, this is
Listen, I got my pen.
First of all, I done said amen in my opening, okay? That was not planned. But you know how you have all these thoughts that are going through your mind? Because, we had, great conversation, then our backstage conversation before the show started. So many different concepts and things, and what's going through my mind. I was like, oh my God, can't forget to say this. Can't forget to say that. Can't forget to say this. So anyway, Derek, I'm glad to have you here.
What's going on? I thank you so much for just, opening up the door and allowing me on, your platform to share my expertise with your audience. So, I'm honored and I'm blessed to be here because, you're doing your thing too. So I'm in great company.
Thank you. Thank you. So Derek, tonight's conversation, I think is so valuable. In my Level Up Mastermind group, we have been talking about marketing and branding, really, getting your message out because, there is a difference. And let me sit up straight and say this. There is a difference. Okay, let me say it one more time. There is a difference in marketing and branding. Put that in the comments for me, somebody. There's a difference in marketing and branding. So your marketing is your message, but your brand is what you want to be known for. So Derek, can you tell my audience a little bit about you and this marketing expertise that you have? And let's dive in about the difference between marketing and branding.
Awesome. Well, my name is Derek D. Ross. Don't forget the D. That's a good piece about the marketing. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I am an entrepreneur full-time it'll be 7 years this year that I've been an entrepreneur full-time. My experience is in corporate. So for about 10 years, I worked on the corporate side. I worked with an agency. And so I've got to see like the lay of the land from, ideation and the start of an idea from birth to, integrated strategies with corporate partners to major events. And so the breadth of my knowledge sometimes is like too big for my head because there's so much information in there. But I think I was definitely I know I was created for such a job or an opportunity like this because of just, growing up, I was always, creative. I remember the first time that I had a creative bone in my body was, making mud pies as a kid. And
were you trying to sell your mud pies?
I wasn't trying to sell them, but hey, just in case, I had decorations. You get the little the flour that has like little seeds that you can peel down. You used to sprinkle that on top. Used to have like different stores and put them in the oven. Listen, but mud pies, like we used to be just so resourceful as kids, right? Just having that ingenuity just to create space when there was nothing to do, right? Okay, let's play a game, let's create a game. And so just knowing back then as a child and in hindsight looking back, just always having that knack for creativity and to create and build something. And I never knew how it would connect with my future. But, as I look back over my life in second grade running for class treasurer and getting up in front of the student body, and I remember stepping up on this little stool because I was too short for the podium and giving a speech out, and I had like campaign posters, vote for Ross, he's the boss. I mean, it was just so many things like glitter and all this other stuff. And so, at the core of myself, I am a creative. You tell me a problem, I'm already trying to figure out a solution for you. So entrepreneurship was like a natural fit for me. But then on top of that, I think one of the biggest things that I pride myself on is always being a person of service. And that's always been a core tenet of mine, whether I was working corporate or even as a business owner. How can I help you? How can I serve you? Not expecting anything in return, because I've always been provided for. God has always provided and anything that I've needed. So I keep that same type of energy wherever I go. I treat every opportunity like it's $1 million opportunity, because everything that we do and everything that comes across our table or our plate, we are supposed to be good stewards of. And so I need to treat it as such. So, yeah.
So Derek, so I have two objectives tonight, through our conversation. The first thing is that I want to make sure that I'm giving my audience and my viewers a lot of information tonight. And the second part of that is that I want to make sure I'm giving them some practical strategies for execution, because, you cannot be such an entrepreneur where you've become a professional learner to where you gather all of this information and you just store it and store it and store it and store it. And then you never really execute on it. And so like, I'm a firm believer, everybody's giving away something free webinar, free this and free that, which is great. The knowledge is free. But you get all this free stuff, you still got to make time to execute what you've learned. And even in the stuff that you're getting free, it's only the surface and introductory. You're not getting the next level meat from the free webinar. In order for you to get the next level meat from the webinar, you have to actually invest in the program. So I think a lot of people are reading, about how to grow their social media following, or how to really market their brand, or how to really get that presence. And the first thing they gravitate to is creating a logo. So I want to move from beyond creating the logo, and let's really dissect and peel back the layers on the difference between the marketing piece and the branding piece. And, one of the things that I think is so important, and I would love to hear your feedback on it, is that you are coming up with a marketing plan or a brand strategy. You have to have clarity. You have to be crystal clear on who you are and if you are providing a product or a service. And I think that drives the bus. So I would love to hear your feedback on really, navigating those two waters.
Well, I'll say this, and hopefully this one phrase will sum it up. Before I had a business, I was a brand. Right? Before I started my business, my agency, I was a brand, because the brand is who you are, right? The business is an entity, right? It's the LLC, it's the S Corp, whatever that is. It's a physical thing. The business is just a business until you start to give it a life, until you start to give it a personality, right? And the same thing for yourself. When we were born, until we're given a name, we're just a baby. And then once we give it a name, then we start to develop the personality, and who will be known as under this name is based on what we do in life and the experiences that we have, and how people begin to, to connect with us and know us. When they say your name, then they can attach the associations that come with it. Oh, he's amazing. He's kind. He's smart. And all those things begin to build your brand. And so for those business owners, I want you to take a step back. Let's like put the logo on pause and focus.
Comment. Put the logo on pause.
Put the logo on pause. It's okay. That idea about that logo ain't going nowhere. But what I really want people to really focus on is who they are right now in this moment, right? Not necessarily 5, 6, 7 years ago. Okay, time has passed, you've learned, but who are you in this moment right now? Because again, at each iteration and stage of our life, we grow. I just went through the same thing, even through the pandemic, trying to figure out, okay, Derek, what do you want now versus what do you want 7 years ago when you first started your business? How have you grown? How have you shifted? And so when you're thinking about branding, you're really thinking about who you are and how you want people to know you. That shows up in different ways. That shows up in how you communicate with people. That shows up in how you interact with people. That shows up in your tone of voice and the stuff that you put on your social media page. And so for people, a lot of times you'll see people put things up and they look kind of scattered because they don't have a clear identity or clear, vision of themselves and how they want to be seen and heard. They keep jumping around. And so when you keep jumping around, the customers will keep jumping around too to other people. You know what I'm saying? And so for those who are listening, I want you to take a step back, take a breath, and really sit back and say, you know what do I want right now? What's important for me right now? What do I care about? What don't I like? Right? What grinds my gears? What makes me, feel disrespected? Again, everything of who we are is wrapped up in those questions, the power of questions. And so for those particular individuals, as you begin to understand your brand, right? As you begin to understand the personality of you, then you as the individual begins to birth the business, which is an extension of you. It's your child, right? And with any child, we're all, somebody's son, daughter, aunt. And so we have characteristics of our parents. Anybody, if we've ever gone to a cookout, you look like your daddy. No, you look like your mama, right? People just start saying who you look like in the family, right? Those are the characteristics that we take on from our parents. Your business will take on those character traits from you. And so that's why it's critically important for you to do the work on yourself, to figure out how you want to be seen, how you want to be heard, how you want to show up, and make sure that you can do that consistently, right? It's not something fake, but it's something that's really a natural piece of you. And then that will automatically go over into your business because that's how you show up. One of my coaches always says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Oh, that's
and the
good.
same thing goes.
Thing is how you do everything. So that means if you lazy at anything, you're gonna be lazy at everything.
You're gonna be if you're a lazy person, you're gonna have a lazy business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Because there's no way to separate you and your values from the business, because at the end of the day, if you're the leader, everything trickles down.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to attract lazy clients. You're going to attract lazy staff, and everything about it's going to be lazy because it's an extension of you. So you really have to, be clear on what it is that you want to create and what you want to put out there in the world, because, again, what you seed. If you're the source and you sow seeds, what you produce comes from you. And so that's really branding. It's just you. And then I think people complicate it sometimes. Like, oh my goodness, I got to create this brand. Okay, well, do you even know yourself? Have you looked in the mirror lately?
That's important. That's important. And so I appreciate the fact when you said, ask yourself, what is important for me right now? And I think that's important because you have to have clear vision on what is important. Clarity is a must. And so when you have clarity, you do not try to compare yourself to other people. Clarity is important. And, I think a lot of times that we are accountable to everybody else, but not accountable to ourselves. And I think that is so important. That comes with your clarity. You have to be accountable to yourself when you are developing or creating a business or a brand. Because if I'm not accountable to myself, it's only so far that I can go. And so that is just one of the first barriers I feel like you have to get past, when it comes to mindset. Mm-hmm. And that is really how you move the mindset to be able to market effectively. And so I want to go back to something you said, about really knowing how you want to be seen, how you want to be heard. Mm-hmm. I think that's important because what happens is, as creatives, we have 5,000 things that go through our minds. We have 5,000 ideas. We have 5,552 strategies. You can't put all 5,552 strategies out at one time. A confused buyer does not buy. Put that in the comments, somebody. A confused buyer does not buy. And so it is so important that you are crystal clear on where you want to be and what arm of the business you are operating in at that time. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have a team, you can operate in several pieces at one time. But if you don't have a team and it is just you, don't try to operate in all 4 or 5 pillars of the business at one time. Because what happens is you don't show up well in customer service. You don't show up well in execution. And most importantly, you are worn out and not making any money because you have exerted all your energy into areas that are not revenue generating. And I think that's important. If you do not execute in revenue generating areas, then all you're going to be is a brand.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's it. And the important piece in like you said, seen and being heard, seen and heard, right? And I think sometimes we people can gloss over it because they're like, oh, that's superficial, or I'm me, so I don't have to. It really is important that whatever you do, you're consistent with it. So I was talking to one of my clients today, and we were talking about this very conversation, and I was talking to her about her tone, and I said, your brand has a tone to it.
Yeah. Ooh,
You
that's
know,
a good tone.
your brand has a tone to it. And I said, if you go to any of my pages, one, I always have a smile on my face. Two, my tone is always inspirational, motivational, with a slight, twang of, everything. I can be sarcastic or I have some smartness with it, but it's across everything. So even in my words, you can feel it. In my voice, you can feel it. How I show up and how I talk and how I show up now, you feel it and you see it is consistent. So that way, if you're reading me, you get the tone. If you hear me, you get the tone. If you see me, you get the tone. If you meet me in person, you're going to get the same thing. And that's branding, right? That's the consistency that it requires for you to show up the same way every time, no matter what platform or no matter what space you're in. But you can't do that if you don't know yourself. You can't do that if you don't pay attention to those nuances and really, truly embrace all of who you are. Because if you go out here and try to be fake, right, you can only be fake for so long before the role ends, the season ends, and you get canceled, right? It's not cancel culture, but we just use an analogy. But you can only be right. You can only be fake for so long because whatever is not naturally you cannot hold and sustain that because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit you. And so branding is in that same form, in that same shape. You definitely have to make sure that you're showing up consistently as who you say you are and what you want to be known for in all spaces and all places. Like, I don't have to turn it on and turn it off, because what you see in the business world is what you get with me in personal world, because I am both. What upsets me in my personal life automatically is going to have some impact in my business, because I'm still me. I'm still doing that. The goal is to get mature enough in knowing how to then, cut it off or separate it so it doesn't impact what you need to do here. But at the end of the day, it still has some type of connection with it. There's no way to separate you and your business because you are connected to it. Right. So, yeah.
Let's talk about tone, because I'm over here, I'm sitting in that. I had to simmer in that one for a minute, okay?
Simmer.
Simmer in that tone, okay? Let's talk about the tone. And so, I'm thinking about so many different things. Yeah. And the first thing that comes to mind is, and I'll use myself for example, you're North Carolinian, like me, one of the things that I'm conscious of, and I'm working on it, is that because I'm from the South, sometimes I write like I speak, and it may not be grammatically correct. However, my tone is still always consistent. And so the point that I want to make, and we can elaborate on this for our viewers, is that that's something you have to recognize, because there are people who I have come in contact with who are excellent business owners. And when I meet them and I see the very core of who they are great at what they do, but their tone versus how they speak versus what they write don't match. And I think that's important. Like, you can't be, I just have a thing about this, okay? And it's just my opinion, it's my show. Don't fuss at me and be aggressive with me to get me to buy your product.
Right.
That's my thing. If aggressiveness is your sales tactic and that works for you, okay, it just means I'm not your ideal client, because that doesn't work for me. Yeah. So I'm okay with it, if that's what you do works for your clients, but it doesn't work for me. So the aggressiveness, I think, is so important. And I think it works hand in hand with your aggressiveness in your customer service and actually meeting expectations.
Yeah.
If those three don't link up, then you have a dysfunction. And when you have a dysfunction in the business like that, you get to a certain place and then you stop. Because, going back to your marketing, your branding, part of that is word of mouth. And so when you get to the point, you stop because people start to share their experiences with you. So your tone has to be one that's consistent.
Mm-hmm. And natural, you know, like I think the important thing, like for me, my name was spoken in rooms years after I left because of how I showed up, because of how I treated people, and because that tone, right? That the tone of who I am, my brand, how I show up, how I treat people, how I work well with others, right? You know, there's a lot of times that I've had to work cross-functionally with other agencies and corporate partners, and you know, things were hot. But how do you keep a level head in those scenarios where you still make people feel respected and that you are part of the team, where you don't get so hot-headed or so big-headed where you know you end up damaging relationships just because you don't know how to, you know, to navigate those tough rooms. And so that's why it's important to know, right, the things that trigger you, the things that you are good at, the areas that you need to improve on. Because if I'm not the best person for that particular space, then I need to send a team member, right? I need to send someone else, and I need to operate or function in the places and the spaces where I am at my best to make the team and the business shine. And so for me, you know, I built a brand unknowingly, one of service, one of someone that can be depended on. A lot of the small nuances that people don't think about, not landing $1 million clients, but who can you count on when it's time to really get down to nitty gritty, when there's an emergency or a crisis, who do you want on your team and who do you want to call to help you get through it? And it was always me. And so even when I left, you know, from city officials down to corporate partners, down to agency partners, it was like, oh, where's Derek at? We miss Derek. Like, where is he at? And those names, right? The names of the people that I met and the people that I worked with, you know, kept my name relevant in spaces, which eventually led to me getting an opportunity to land my first six-figure contract, which started my business. But that was 3 or 4 years down the road. It was still working. And so it's important for those who are listening, when we're talking about tone, again, you know, you can tell people's tone in emails. Per my last email, oh, they got an attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, tone comes in writing. You might not think it's coming off that way, but me being a communications professional, I'm always reading, rereading, looking at my writing from different angles to see how people can perceive it or receive it, right? I know the place that I'm coming from, but it might not always be received in the same way. So I have to look at it from different angles. I have no choice, because I have to, especially when I'm managing my clients and I know their tone of voice and what it is that, you know, they're conveying, then I then become the voice of that brand. So I have to be very aware of the word choices, of the exclamations, of the punctuation that I use, the spacing, like all those things play a role. And I know people are probably like, oh my goodness, we're saying this because when you're writing your social media posts, do not put a whole lot of exclamation points. People feel like you're yelling at them.
Are you listening to what Derek says? If you have questions, get your questions ready. Get your questions ready. Listen.
Yeah.
He said, hey, about the exclamation. So I'm guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that. I really am. And I have to work on that, because I do have an editor on my team, and she brought that to my attention. And like I said, it comes from a place of my excitement as a person and my personality. So it doesn't make it right, but I'm guilty of that. So y'all get your questions ready. Get your questions ready. If we helping anybody, somebody put in the comments, let us know if we are helping you. So Derek, I want to start now really giving, you know, my creatives and entrepreneurs on here some actual tactical strategies they can use right now. And so one of the questions that I get all the time from my clients are, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to actually come up with the social media posts to say or to create it so that people actually buy. So what do you tell your clients, you know, when it comes to, you know, getting them prepared to create social media content, you know, as far as their marketing, you know, is concerned, to get people to actually pay attention to their posts and so they can convert them into buying?
Can you hear me? I had to change out my earpods. One of my coaches, Andy Henriquez, he's a storytelling coach, and there's 3 points that he always says when you're telling a story, like, what do you want to say? You know, why do you want to say it? And what do you know? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to do? And how do you want to make them feel? Right? Know, what do you want them to do, and how you want to make them feel? So when I think about writing,
what you want them to know, what you want them to do, and how you want them to
feel, right? Like your social media post should have a combination of those three things in there, right? Because if what's the point of putting a post if you don't know what you want people what you want them to know, right? Why are you posting? Give them the information. What do you want them to feel as a result of that post, right? Is this post to get them inspired, to make them, move with urgency to buy something that you have? Is it to, just connect with them? Like, what do you want them to feel? And then what do you want them to do after you've done the first two? Know, feel, and what do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? I had it in the wrong order. But though, and I always think about that, so for me, I would say start there, because your social media is just a conversation piece. It's just a place for you to have a conversation with your audience. And so just like if you were to meet them in the room, and if y'all in the same room, what would you tell them? That helps to shift kind of like the roadblock sometimes of just creating posts, because we can get down and get tight and get, writer's block. So take it a step back, maybe phone a friend, maybe, have a conversation, pretend that, the client is in front of you or the person is in front of you, and go through those questionings, right? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? And that will begin to trigger, even if you just answer those questions really briefly, it'll start your ideas will start to churn, and you'll be like, oh, okay, all right, I want them to do that. And then you can start adding the other pieces around it. But as long as you have the basics there, you're good. Don't overcomplicate it. It's just a conversation. It's just a conversation.
So y'all get that? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? So we have somebody with their social media, and we're going to be performing social media audits. We're going to look at y'all pages. We're going to look at y'all pages and see if y'all posted what you want people to know, what you want them to feel, what you want them to do. And that is so important, really having those steps. And I think also something else that you said that was valuable. And that is, so, now that you've gotten all this information to people, what do you want them to do? And even after you have given them what you want them to do, you still want to figure out a way to retain them as a client, or either get a great testimonial from them, or either develop a relationship. Like, you don't want it to just be one-offs. And I think really creating that culture of relationship and relationship driven, I think that benefits you and the consumer so much more than it does just like a one-off transaction. And that's why it's so important to actually have a marketing strategy. And believe it or not, I think that sometimes that entrepreneurs get confused with, and in the beginning phases, as I was navigating this path, I was on this thing called $10 Tuesday. Don't laugh at me, okay? $10 Tuesday, all right. And with $10 Tuesday, I would pick out a set of accessories. It could be like earrings and a necklace set, whatever this is, that, and the other. And I was like hyped. Like 1 week, I made $200. I was just like, so this is the beginning. This is like maybe like 9 years ago. I was like, hyped. But do you know how many times I went to the post office for a $10 set? Do you know how many times? Like, yeah, it just wasn't worth it. But because I saw what appeared to me that people were being attracted to what I had, I immediately thought that was success. And that is not a measure for success. Just because people are attracted to what you have, that is not how you measure your success. And so now, fast forward years later, I believe in having systems and processes in place. And one of the things that my business coach says to me, and I also believe this, that every entrepreneur business coach who coaches people, you also need a coach. So my business coach says to me, she says, Bridgett, you are at the point in your career, you're at the point in your business, we don't do hustling over here. We do systems and processes. And I was like, that was like to a whole nother place.
Yes.
Took it to a whole nother place. You can't operate like that. So I have to consistently, remind myself that I have to hold my clients and customers accountable, because I have a fiscal, not physical, a fiscal responsibility to my brand. and to the customers that I serve. People will treat things better that they pay for. And especially if they pay for it, in a different category versus, $10 Tuesday. So hence I stopped doing that after I started getting coached. And I haven't done anything like that since then. So, but I want to go back to the part of when I talked about how that just because people are attracted to your brand, that doesn't guarantee.
It doesn't, right? You have to give them a reason to want to buy, right? Think about it in this terms, right? Marketing, market. You got to have a market in order to do marketing, right? The market is your customers. So if
kindergarten the way you just did that,
right? Sometimes you gotta slow it down. Because again, like I said, I think some people like, don't get me wrong, marketing is tough because it requires research. It requires knowing your audience and knowing the ebbs and flows of their life, right? Because if you are, it's like friendship, it's like relationships. If you are we are friends. So like Bridget's my friend, y'all. And so I am growing with you. And so as a friend, it's up to me and us to communicate of what's going on with you, how life is going, the different experiences you're having. And as you're having these experiences, you are changing. So my role as your friend will slightly adjust as well to support you in that journey, i.e. you and your customers. When you first get the customers, right, today, 6 months from now, they may need something slightly different from you. So are you paying attention to how your customers are growing and transitioning over the time that y'all have together so that you can be prepared to be able to provide them with what they need? So you have to have the foresight to try to understand the trends of the people that you're serving to see what it is that they need so that you can have a solution for it so they can continue to spend with you and grow with you, right? The lifetime value of your customer, right? Once you land them, you want to keep them because they'll continue to spend with you, but you have to give them a reason to spend. And so when we talk about branding is the first piece, because once you have an identity, once you have a tone, once you know how you want to be seen and heard and represented, you add your colors to it to match, and everything is pretty and
can they get their logo now? Can they get their logo?
They get their logo now, right? You here. But before you do any kind of marketing, now what kind of product or service is your brand positioned to create? And is there a need for it? Right? Your brand then creates a product or a service based on your expertise, based on what you can do in the market, based on how you can show up, based on what people have told you because they've gotten to know you because of all the work that you've done. You've been conversing and communicating with people as your brand so they can get to know you and you get to know what other people want, right? So at that point, you get to say, well, based on what people say they like about me and based on the experience and based on what they've said, it sounds like this may be a product or a service that other people may want as well. And so, let me bring this to market. Boom, now you have something to market. And now that's marketing. And marketing is going to be, and that's when the messaging starts to come in. Oh, why should you buy this from me? Oh, because I've done this all of my life and I used to help people do this. And now I've created this so I can help you with that solution. Now you see how things tie together, but you got to have a story. You got to have the experience. You got to have a reason. You got to understand the why and all these things over here so that when you create a product or a service, i.e. you have a story behind it. You have the meaning and the why behind it naturally because that was your experience. That's the work that you did in the beginning. And now you have a product or a service that's been birthed from the brand that you now can bring to market and serve it to other people in the form of a product or a service or both, depending on how it evolves over time. And so that's the important piece. And that's how those things actually work together. People think marketing like, oh my goodness, that's advertising. Those are the mediums and the channels that helps you get your marketing message out there, right? Your ads, your social media, all those things that you use, billboards, traditional, whether you do digital ad buys, all those different things are just channels to amplify your voice, the message of your marketing voice and your marketing message out there, which is still connected to your brand voice, right? You still want to have everything is connected, right? And so I hope I'm not going too deep or too like
marketing guru. And let me tell you something, it's quiet in the house, but I glance down and I can see in my visualization that people are writing this down, they taking notes. So two things that I want to highlight, Y'all, I hope y'all are getting this because we're giving y'all some good stuff on marketing. Two things I want to highlight. The first thing that I want to highlight is that about friendship and business. Let's go there for a minute.
Yes.
Especially when you are at your beginning phases of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
and you have friends, and learning how to manage the two. Because if you don't know how to manage the two, you can develop some type of friction.
Yes.
And so I think that, it's so important that if you are a creative or an entrepreneur or a visionary, that you communicate to your friends effectively. It does not mean that I don't love you. It does not mean that our friendship is gone or dead or ended. It just means I'm focused on my priority, and it means I'm focused on my goals. And so it also means that there may be times that I am not as available as I used to be, because right now I'm goal driven and I'm purpose driven.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, Derek, because I've shared my experiences in the past, have you had any examples or anything that you can share where you've had to really figure out how to navigate, how to manage, friendship, entrepreneurship? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're a full-time entrepreneur, if you're not working and establishing yourself so much so that you're either getting an RFP or you're getting residual income, you have to consistently stay in the brand so that it's more
Mm-hmm.
to bring revenue in.
Yes.
So, that poses as a challenge because you're not available.
Mm-hmm.
So give us an example of how you had to manage it.
I think part of me is as I moved into entrepreneurship, my friend circle automatically started to shift because
Mhm.
where I was spending my time at, I needed a different group of individuals as my friend because I needed the experience, but I needed the support as well. And everyone who was with my friend in a certain season couldn't support me in this particular season. So I, gracefully kind of, had to extend myself and move in the direction where I was going now. And, I still speak, there's nothing wrong, but I was elevating into a different direction. And so as I started moving into entrepreneurship, I started attracting people who were like-minded, right?
Mhm.
Peers within the field. And it really felt like a more natural connection because they understood what I was going through. They could speak to my pain points, and we could support each other. And so at that moment, you have a decision to make. Do we do business together, or do we just support one another, right? And I think we all at some point get to that pivotal, kind of fork in the road of like, okay, do we just stay friends who happen to be business owners, or do we, cross that bridge and begin to work together? And I've had great experiences on both sides, right? Cam, who very well, he and I worked together on many projects. When I first started my agency, he was the go-to for all the video graphics and things that I did, design stuff, and we worked very well together because there was a rapport. But there was also a mutual respect of each other's businesses and our talents outside of just being friends. So we knew how to clearly draw a line there and be able to still do business, work, have fun, but still know, okay, when it's time to shift and where the rubber meets the road, we know how to get to work and get things done. And so when you have people that understand that can respect you, respect your business and the thing that you're creating, even if they're not in the business with you and they're not working on it with you, but they say, hey, I know you're busy, hit me back when you get a chance. Don't guilt trip me for not talking to you for a while. Try to understand what's going on before you cast judgment of, oh, you don't talk to nobody, you don't call nobody. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have those types of individuals. And so it's really, about what kind of space you want to curate around yourself, which will help determine the people that stay and the people that come, and then what you also decide to do.
Mhm.
On the flip side of that, I had a friend that worked with me in my business, and they had hidden intentions about what they wanted versus what I was creating, and there was conflict. And part of being a friend, I didn't really stand and use my voice because I was protective of the friendship. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I didn't want to do all these other things, and it made the friendship suffer even more because now this hidden animosity, there's tension. We're both on eggshells. You say something, I think you're talking about me, but you're not talking about me. You know what I'm saying? Like everything
Mhm.
starts to build up, and it came to a point where I had to make a decision. I am the CEO of this company, and this is how my business is going to run. But then also taking ownership for my part and saying, hey, you only acted because of what I allowed to happen. you only acted that way because I wasn't clear in the communication. And I stepped and owned my part. And I said, and so now that I know better, I'm going to do better. And so moving forward, we can no longer work together. But that took, that was hard, but it took that lesson for me to really value the importance of, friendship, of business, and know how to, separate. I have separate groups of friends for different things, right? Everybody can't fill you up. Everybody can't fill you up. So you need to get what you need to get from separate groups of friends.
Well, that's good. Everybody can't fill you up. That's good. That's a t-shirt, Ross.
Everybody can't fill you up.
Can't fill you up.
I'll get my ratchet side from a group of friends over here. I got my spiritual side over here, and everybody can be a little bit spiritual, but then, there's certain friends that lean more to the left or to the right. But it's okay to have those different friend groups that serve all the different facets of you, because you're not just one person. You're not just one thing. You're a multitude of things. And so your friendships are going to reflect that. And it's okay to have those different spaces and different places, but you also got to have the discipline to know how to balance it, so to speak. And then also determine, who belongs where and why, and be okay with that being your boundaries and what you want to create, and keep it as that.
That's good. I'm stuck on that last comment. That last comment. That's a t-shirt, listen, I love that, and listen to what you said, because, I've been on both sides as well. I've been on both sides as well. So I definitely understand what you were saying. And so one of the things I've learned is to be okay with it.
Yes.
And I have to be okay with my decisions. And I have to be okay with my decisions, whether you agree with my decisions or not. You have to be okay with it, because at the end of the day, I have to be able to sleep peaceably at night. And at the end of the day, I know the entire strategic plan for the business.
Yes.
And so when you have that in view, that consistently puts you in the mindset of operating the business as a business, not as a hobby. And that is important when it comes to your marketing and your branding. You have to operate the business as a business, not as a hobby. The moment that you start operating as a hobby, that puts you in a different category. And you don't ever want people to lose respect for you or the brand. And so that's why it's so important that you have these tough conversations. You have to have these crucial conversations. You have to have these critical conversations, because if you don't have them up front now, later on down the line, they can be detrimental to your business. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
So now fast forward now, now that we're on the other side and we both have established businesses, and, we talk about, where we are now and where we desire to go. Like my marketing and my branding, it consistently changes. It consistently changes, because I am not just, just a creative and just a business owner, but I change in age. And as I've changed in age, my thought process has changed. The way that I view things, I feel like the more I grow as a business owner, my taste becomes more expensive.
Hey.
We want finer things in life.
Yeah.
And so we want to be in certain arenas. You want to be in certain atmospheres so that you can get charged intellectually, so that you can have conversations that's outside of what's on Ratchet TV. I want to be able to have conversations about metrics. I want to have conversations about data. I want to have conversations about analytics and market research. So you shift, and when you shift, your conversation shift, and the brain and the business shifts, and then the level of client that you start to attract, that shifts. So my question to you, for the entrepreneurs that are on here that need to make that shift, what is the step that you would encourage them to do? They need to make that shift from, number one, not really playing up to the full expectation, not really playing up to the full extent of the brand, because you can have a great product, a great service, but because the messaging is not clear, and sometimes the messaging is too elementary.
Yeah.
And so when it becomes too elementary, then that doesn't attract your ideal client. And sometimes it attracts no clients, So, a starting point, like what is the starting point that we can give our entrepreneurs who have been in business for a little while, and, they've gotten some sales, they've made some connections. Their dreams and visions are bigger than where they are, but they need to make that shift in order to be able to get next level clients?
I would say pay attention to how you feel, right? Because your how you feel will determine where you are in your growth. There have been times where I will be in conversation with friends and they'll be talking about something we talk about all the time. And I feel differently about the conversation. I feel like the conversation doesn't fit me anymore. And I'm like, oh, we're talking about this again. And so if anybody's ever been there and you find yourself, not tuned in or not, wanting to hear the same old boring conversations anymore, it's a sign that you've matured and you've grown and that you are in search of something more to feed you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Pay attention to the feeling. Second is, I would say, as we get older, right, and as you grow in your business and you grow as a person, there comes a point where you just want to be who you are,
Mm-hmm.
And if I talk with a lazy tongue, I'm going to embrace that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to fix it as I talk. But if I do, and it's a part of me, it's when you embrace the flaws of who you are. And I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, that's what people value. They value the real. They value the relevant, right? And if you're always picture perfect and if people can't really relate to you because they have bad days, but you're always, prim, proper, and perfect when you're online, be it, myself or anybody else, there's a disconnect because they know that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, listen, I don't feel like that today. I don't feel like that every day. So for you to get on here every day talking, hey, people, I'm happy all the time. They're going to be like, yeah, right, BS. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to have the layer of reality, of realness within your life and be able to speak to those moments and be able to show up from that space as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, right? Talking about, today I had a rough day. Today was busy and I wanted to quit. But you know what? I want to quit like 3-4 times a month. But you know what I never do because I know that's the ebbs and flows of being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. It is? Yes, it is. Let me tell you more about it. You draw people in. You know what I'm saying? You draw people in. But for the person that always says it's perfect or it's always good, then that person feels like, well, I'm doing it wrong. Or I'm never going to be successful. And so you begin to also, when you do that, make other people feel like they're not good enough to be in it because they're not perfect like you. So I think it's important to really bring to bring the veil down or open up the veil, so to speak, and let people in a little bit and get to the point where you understand that your realness and the rawness of who you are and what you bring to the table is really what people want to know and what people want to see, the behind the scenes. Like, Bridgett, like, what's your morning routine? Like, what do you do when you are upset or when you get mad or, how do you navigate that? Because then they're like, okay, well, maybe there's something in how she handles it that I can handle it. So as entrepreneurs, as you're thinking about the conversation that you're having with people, like I said, with yourself, check your feelings because just like you wanted a different conversation when you were in that room, there's people in your audience that want a different conversation. They're looking for you to have it or open up the door to have it so that they can step into what they've been looking for.
Mm-hmm. I think that's key. And one of the things I consistently say to my clients and I consistently say to myself, and, I'll keep on saying it. And that is this: you should never post anything that's not real. Anything that you post should be your real life.
Yeah.
Like, you should not post things that are not real. I understand faithing it, and I understand the concept of speaking those things which be not as though they were. And I live by the Bible. I would never, take away from the Bible. The word is the word. I believe in Jesus Christ. I am a believer. But I also think that you got to be your authentic self. And so I say that to say, because, you see times, where entrepreneurs put themselves in a place of feeling like that they have to appear a certain way because they don't appear to be successful or they don't feel like they're growing as fast as other people. But everything that people post is not authentic. That's why I say post the real thing. There are days, you're right. There are days that you might not do this, but there are days I say to myself, girl, what are you doing?
I said that earlier today.
What are you doing? Because sometimes I get so excited, I'll just be like, thinking, yeah, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then it sounds so great when you plan it 6 months in advance. But you get in that last window, when it's time to execute that last window, it's always there one or two things that's going to stretch you out of the comfort zone even more.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, girl, what was you thinking? And then the minute you get in it, all of the fear goes away. You know, all of the nervousness goes away. And then you think, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. But yeah, there are times I'm like, ooh, Bridgett, you have really done it this time.
Yeah. Those words of affirmation are important. Like today, I was telling myself, just to be 100% transparent, I was telling myself, Derek, you got this.
Mm-hmm. Your audio went out. We can't hear you. All right, we having technical difficulties.
I had muted myself. I don't know how I muted myself.
Like,
Lord, see, the Lord did. Somebody didn't want me to say what I had to say. See, that I bind that.
And I was here to get my Wendy Williams on, because in my mind, you know, and the way I'm operating now, I'm gonna have a talk show. I am a real talk show host now.
You are.
Talk show, okay? I'm gonna have a talk show. So I was gonna say, this is what happens when you have live TV. You have technical difficulties. That's how you know that we're real. This is our real life. No, go ahead and say what you was gonna say.
I was like, what's going on? I saw that notification. But anyway, what I was going to say was, like, earlier today, I was like, you know, it's important to give yourself affirmations, because sometimes you're all you have in certain moments, and so you have to talk yourself through. And so I remember this today. I was like, Derek, you got this. You've done this many times before. This is not new under the sun. You've done this. Okay, what do you need to do next? Because I had so many things going on, and I had to get myself back focused. And so I had to talk to myself and pep talk myself and say, oh, no, do this first. You know this. Why are you hesitating? You got it. Send the email. Stop playing. Write this thing. You know how to write. You know how to do XYZ. Get it done. Let's go. And I needed to have that pep talk to myself. And because at that moment, I was like, well, darn, who I need to call? No, I don't need to call nobody. There's certain times that you have to be the cheerleader, the pep talk, because there's going to be times when you can't call somebody. How are you going to get through the situation? So you have to, learn to give yourself those pep talks. And when you feel like, everything is going a blunder or whatever the case may be, stop, pause, and be like, okay, what am I feeling right now? What am I thinking right now? And are these thoughts contrary to what I know to be true? Which is, I'm amazing, I'm dope, I have everything that I need. And then you begin to shift the conversation back to something that's reflective of the truth of your real reality. Because again, if we don't mind our mind is going to have us all over the place. We control this. It don't control
us. Ooh, that was good. You got to mind your mind.
We control this. It don't control us. It's all powerful, but we hold the keys. And so, but we have to constantly, be able to, to tend to it, right? Just like a garden. If we let a garden go astray, weeds and everything will be grow. You have to constantly tend to your mind, just like you would tend to a garden, or tend to, getting your hair done, or me getting a haircut. It's going to grow based on the experience, just based off of life, but we have to tend to it. And so for me, I have to do that often, especially when you get into bigger rooms, right? Because if you can do it on the growing level, those same things are going to happen at the bigger levels. But you're going to know how to handle it because you handle it down here. Same process, just different experience. That's it. And so that's what I really wanted to say about that, because it's real for me. I'll probably have to have a pep talk with myself tomorrow, but that's okay. I'm going to still get it done, right? I'm going to still make it do what it do. But, when we don't share our weaknesses, when we don't share the things that we go through, we leave people thinking that they're the only ones that go through it, and then they isolate themselves. And the biggest piece about being an entrepreneur and having a platform like we do is for us to be good stewards of what we've been blessed with, right? We've been blessed with success and visibility, but we also been, blessed with experiences and challenges that we get to share with others to help others through where we used to be.
And challenges will make you. So, Derek, I'm gonna shift the conversation to you being a Zumba instructor, okay? But just before I do that, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have your Coffee with Bridgett mug, please log on to www.thebbexperience.com, where you can get your signature coffee mug. We only have just a few of these left, and once these mugs are gone, we're not bringing back this mug. We will launch the new design. The goal is to have a new design for the mug for every quarter, for every season. So get your Coffee with Bridgett mug, all right? www.thebbexperience.com. And also, I want to encourage you, February the 23rd, I am partnering with I Am She with Nikita McKenzie for a virtual experience where we're discussing vision boards and execution and how to get the vision off the board. And so it's going to be so much fun. So please log on to I Am She and purchase your ticket for the virtual experience. So now, listen, if y'all don't have any questions, it's okay, because I see y'all writing and taking notes. And I've checked at my phone, and we done had some good viewers to stay here with us, and they sharing. So let's talk about this Zumba.
Yeah.
Nikita, I see you're on here. Please put the graphic in the content in the comment area so people can see the flyer about the event. All right, let's talk about this Zumba.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Marketing and Branding, tell us about this Zumba you got going on.
You know, Zumba is you know, I was telling a story the other day of how Zumba is a marriage of two skills that I once retired, but that came back in the future to create something new. So I used to dance in high school, and I was also a student athlete. And I couldn't do both once I got to my junior year because I really wanted to focus on getting a scholarship to college to run track. So I had to give up, you know, dancing because the demands, I couldn't balance both. So I, you know, retired dancing, you know, when I was a junior in high school, and then I ended up focusing on track. And I got my scholarship. And then once I finished college and transitioned into, you know, my career, I had to put track to sleep, right? I had to lay that down. That dream was up. Cool. It served its purpose. Boom. And so as I was working and started getting back into working out, you know, going to the Y, my mom was going to work out with me. And she can't run because she has a slip disc, and so she's like, I need to do some cardio. And I was like, well, take that Zumba class. That class, they dancing in there. You used to dance, and when you were in high school, you used to cheer. I mean, in college, you know, used to cheer HBCU, you know, all day. But I was like, go dance. And so she went there. Oh my goodness, I loved it. I was like, okay, cool. So some months passed by. She's loving class. I'm, you know, never been in there, not thinking about it, going up, do my cardio. And then she comes to me and says, oh, well, the teacher says that I should get my license because I'm so good. And I was like, okay. So she gets her license. She comes home and she says, well, the teacher wants me to do a song in class. You're going to help me choreograph it. Huh? How did I get looped into this? And so we're in the kitchen right over here and we're choreographing a song. It's done. We go to class. She does it. Well, you got to come to class because you need to be in the front row so I don't miss the song or I don't mess up so I can see you. I'm like, okay, Lord Jesus. So, right, mind you, I hadn't danced in years outside of like, you know, a couple things, but not in like a long span. So I'm in class and I'm in there and the music hits and I'm like, okay, this feels good, you know? And, you know, we do her song and I was like, I really enjoyed myself. And I've never stopped taking Zumba since then. And so I started going to class, being in the front of class. At the time, it wasn't a lot of male instructors. And the same instructor, it was like, yo, Derek, you should get your license because, you know, there's not a lot of male instructors. You're amazing at what you do. And so 3 months after my mom got hers, I got my license. And as soon as I got my license, I had 3 classes waiting on me. And I've been teaching 3 classes for 7 years every week since then. And so it was the marriage of my love for athletics, for my love for working out and track, and my love for dance met to create Zumba and an opportunity for Zumba to show up.
Wow, 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 wow. And so that goes to show to the entrepreneurs and the creators that are on here tonight that those of you who have, you know, multiple skills and talents and ideas, that it's possible to do more than one thing. It's just making sure that you marry it appropriately and making sure that you take the time to really research the craft, you know, and learn how to perfect the craft, especially if you're going to offer it as a service. So also, you know, I'm going to be like they do on TV. So my producer, my producer just notified me that the comments are not coming up on the screen because I was like, ain't nobody got no questions for us tonight. So I had to look on my phone. So now I see all the comments from the people. Okay. So y'all, if you have questions for me or for Derek tonight, please put your questions. I can now see the questions on my phone. Yes, Eric Holmes, execute the vision, the purpose, and the plan. Yes, you have to execute the vision, the purpose, and the plan, and you have to invest time. Time is important when it comes to business and a brand, especially if you're what I call a corporatepreneur. And a corporatepreneur is those who are still working a corporate job, but also an entrepreneur. And so you're a corporatepreneur, which means you have to treat your business like a business. You have to schedule office hours after your job. You have to plan out your marketing strategy. You have to look at revenue generating ideas. And you have to take the time, which I think is important, to batch out your social media content. Because if you try to write social media content on the fly all the time, that ain't gonna work. That's only gonna work but for so long when you just start writing out content on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we blame it on the iPhone, but we'll say, I didn't mean to say that. We have all these grammatical errors, or it don't make sense. So you gotta batch out your content.
Yeah.
Sit down, come up with a theme. Make sure that your aesthetics are right. And most importantly, proofread and review it before you post it.
Listen, there's been a time that I had to post and delete because I was like, Lord, listen, I've done a post and delete several times because I'm like, oh no, nope, that's gotta come down. That's not going to happen. But I wanted to say one thing about the Zumba thing, because some people may be thinking like, well, how does Zumba connect with who you are, your branding? Other than, the dancing and, the working out, Zumba gives me an opportunity to be creative, right? Remember earlier I said I'm a creative at my core. So I create, choreography to teach class, but then I'm also a teacher at my core, right? I love to teach. I've always loved to speak to students. That's something that I've done since I was little. I always want to be the leader in the class and telling people what to do. But that's also a common thread of what I do now, whether it's teaching courses. At the end of the, one of my goals is I want to be a professor.
Okay.
So the Zumba with the creativity, the teaching, but then also connecting and speaking to others, right? There's so many relationships that I've built, and even people within the class I've built and they come from different backgrounds. So they probably wouldn't have been friends otherwise, right? From all backgrounds, ages, races, all that stuff. And so it's directly aligned with who I am, a place of service, a place of creativity, a place of teaching. And so it's a part of my core tenets, whether it's in business or whether it's in Zumba, it's all together. And it's another revenue stream too. But so I wanted to bring that distinction in because I want to make the connection, because somebody might be thinking like, Zumba, like how does that connect with branding and marketing and PR? Well, what's the common thread of your gift? I say work your gift, find the common thread of your gift. You'll find it in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm. So we got a question.
Yes.
The question says, can you share how important integrity and character and credibility is?
It's important because if people can't trust you, they ain't gonna work with you, right? And again, your character is a part of branding. Your character will speak for you when you leave the room. So when you leave the room and people are like, oh, I cannot stand that person. Oh, you have bad character, right? Or don't trust them. Oh, your integrity is off. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's really important to make sure that, and they go together. So if you don't have the integrity or the character, right, then you're not going to be credible because you can't be trusted, right? You have a bad attitude, so nobody's going to vouch for you to do anything. And so at that point, you have to think about how your actions flow into each other and what you do today, how it's going to have an impact down the road. And so it's very important to kind of know how you move and groove, and also who you connect yourself with, because sometimes it might not be you, but the person that you're connected to and their, lack of integrity, and because they're your friend. Well, we've been friends since we were little. Sometimes those friendships can dampen you because of your connection to them. So you got to be mindful of that as well.
Mm-hmm. And also I want to add to that too as well, about being careful about who you're connected to, because one of the great things about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, at some point you're going to need a mentor, a coach, or a sponsor. Mm-hmm. And so the difference is that when you are a sponsor will put their name on the line for you. They will put it all out there for you, whether you're present or not present. And so when you don't have character or an integrity or credibility, the sponsor can't do that for you. I know for me, I'm not putting my name on the line for anybody I don't trust, and for anybody who I know that their reputation is bad on so many levels. So that's very, very important as you are trying to grow and expand your brand and expand your network. So if your character, your integrity, and your credibility is no good, then you have to do some soul searching. Okay. And you have to really sit with yourself. And that's important as an entrepreneur. You have to learn how to sit with yourself. And once you sit with yourself, that is where you can really connect to your why.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to always know where your why is. No matter what you do, it should connect to your why. Even your tone, like we talked about earlier, everything should connect to your why. So it's important that you sit with yourself. It's important that you have self-care.
Yes.
It is so important you have self-care, and it's important that you have downtime and to really allow yourself that grace.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Amen.
able to get refueled, because if you are consistently going and going and going and going and providing a service, then your character and your credibility can become attacked because you're weak. And so when you are weak, you don't produce. When you don't produce, there is no growth. Where there is no growth, there is no oxygen. And if your business does not have oxygen, it is not living. So that's why it is so important that you take these steps. And when you don't take these steps, you put yourself in a bad place.
And think about it this way, like, would you co-sign for somebody if they had bad credit?
No.
Like, because when you were thinking about that, like, I wouldn't, like, if somebody who didn't have good integrity, who was, kind of shaky in their character and was incredible, well, like, would you co-sign for them?
No,
your credit.
I had bad credit and I had to get my credit together. So you think I'm gonna jeopardize all the hard work I did to get my
no. So that's another way to kind of position it, because it's like, would you co-sign? It's really co-signing, like you said, for somebody. And when you co-sign, you put your name on the line. And if and it goes both ways. Like, do you want somebody to co-sign for you? Then how do you need to show up? How you need to be in order for that person's name to be protected and safe in your hands?
Mm-hmm. So the next question is, how important is your word in your name?
Ooh, it's everything. Like I said, my name is still spoken in rooms, and that's only by the grace of God. But that's also about me keeping my word, that I could be trusted. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Point blank, period. And if I can't do it, I'm gonna find somebody that can. But I'm gonna figure it out. And I've always been true to my word. If I tell you that I'm gonna do something, then I'm gonna show up, because I think about that as I'm making a covenant with you. If I'm telling you I'm gonna do something, then I am, at the end of the day, if you take everything away from me, I still have my name.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the thing that I definitely want to protect. So how I show up, how I do anything, again, like I said earlier, is how I do everything. And so if I am, I let my yes be yes and my no be no. And as I've gotten older, that's been one of those things that I'm tried and true with. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to say yes, because then I show up not wanting to do it, and then my attitude is going to reflect it, and then my action is going to reflect it, and then now people will be like, well, they salty, they don't want to be here, you know what I'm saying? Then that reflects badly on me. And so when you put yourself in situations that you don't want to be in, because you don't want to say no, because no is a complete sentence. I know you've heard it before, but use it as much as you need to, because protecting your peace and your sanctity is the thing that will keep you out of trouble.
Yeah.
So when you start saying yes and just doing things just for the sake of doing things, you're going to find yourself in a situation that you probably shouldn't be in, and you probably wouldn't have been in had you really sat back, listened to yourself, and be like, you know what? No, that's not for me today.
And saying yes to everything puts you in debt.
Yes.
It puts you in debt, because when you don't properly plan and you do everything last minute, you pay more.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start paying more, that accrues after a while. It starts stacking up. And then when you go back and you look at your statements and you look at everything and you look at how much money you have wasted, all because of proper planning, or because you refuse to say no because it didn't fit in, or because you sometimes as entrepreneurs, we inconvenience ourselves for other people.
Yes, Lord.
You can't inconvenience yourself for other people all the time. So not at all. Not at all. Oh my gosh, listen. Tonight's conversation is like being like crazy for me. Just like crazy, just crazy. So just before we go, I just want to remind everybody, if you do not have your Coffee with Bridgett mug, go to www.thebbexperience.com to get your mug. And don't forget to also, if you can go to I Am She for the one night, February 23rd, for the virtual experience. And the virtual experience is where I am partnering with Nikita McKenzie. And we are talking about executing your purpose, your vision, your brand. Like, we got so many great things that are happening. And you never know what kind of surprises that we might be having. So leads me to my next thing, Derek.
What's up?
So, Derek, I'm all about community.
Yes.
All right. I'm all about community. And so I had this idea that just, how you get these ideas and you call your friends. Like I got this idea, so I call my creative friends, and I have what I call my prayer bosses. Mm-hmm. And so my tribe or my squad, my personal squad, is called prayer bosses. Mm-hmm. And I call them my prayer bosses because I always have somebody in there that tells me that ain't gonna work. And then you got somebody else that would tell you, listen, let's map out the strategy for this. Uh-huh. Then I got somebody else to say, all right, how much money do we need? So you have everybody that fits in the different categories. Mm-hmm. So they keep me grounded. So I had this idea, okay? Yeah. I had this idea that I am going to launch February the 26th. Y'all put in the comments, February 26th. I am launching my first virtual networking group. Awesome. And I'm super hyped about it. So it's called BB Connect 4. This is not a game. How about that? You like that?
I like that. BB Connect 4. This is not a game.
Connect 4. This is not a game. So let me tell you what BB Connect 4 is. So BB Connect 4 is where there will be 1 hour of virtual networking. I'm inviting 25 entrepreneurs or creatives, and you have to go to my website and fill out the registration form. That 1 hour is on a private Zoom, just me and 25 entrepreneurs. We're not there to sell each other anything. In that 1 hour, it is just for virtual networking. And so I'm set on the number of 25 because everybody that's in that group, you get 2 minutes to pitch your business or your brand. So here's where the blessing comes in. The blessing comes in is that there is power in collaboration. Yes. There is power in the platform if you know how to use your platform correctly. And so in the virtual networking, you get the opportunity to meet other people in different places and in different industries. And you can learn how to cross market. You can also learn how to collaborate. And for those who are nervous about speaking in front of people, this is your place to practice.
Boom. There it goes. Whoop, there it is.
And I can't announce it yet, but I have a sponsor for the first BB Connect 4. I have my first corporate sponsor. So it is a sponsored event and it is absolutely free. And so the virtual networking will be done once a quarter. And so what I have come to realize that in this digital and virtual space, everybody's talking right now. So now while everybody's talking, you have a dedicated audience who's listening to you. So if everybody's talking at some point, you want to make sure that somebody's hearing your message in the midst of all of the noise. So at BB Connect 4, listen, this is where you're going to have your chance to be heard.
Awesome.
This is where you're going to get honest feedback. And this is the community where you may find your next speaking engagement. You may find your next opportunity based on you being around other individuals who are hungry for what they do, just like you are. So only 25 people. That's it.
Yeah, they get them spot.
Because we are 1 hour. So 25 times 2 is 50, which means that's 50 minutes. So it's 1 hour. It will start on time. It is February 26th at 5:00 p.m. And so it is during happy hour time. I am not promoting drinking. I said happy hour time because of the time of day that it is. All right. So BB Connect 4, please meet me there February the 26th, 5:00 p.m. You log on to www.thebexperience.com. Just fill out the registration form. We're only taking 25 people in the first networking cohort. So I'm so excited. My sponsor will be having words for the initial cohort. I have like some giveaways. Like we have some really cool stuff that's going to happen. So if you know me, you know I know how to give a party. I know how to give a party and I know how to give good swag, okay? Hey. And I believe there is power in collaboration and there is power in connecting. So log on to www.thebexperience.com, BB Connect 4, fill out the registration forms. It is no fee. It is free. You just get this opportunity to virtually network with other people. So I'm super excited. So Derek, I hope you're going to join us, on
If I'm not teaching Zumba, I'll be there.
Yes, so hope you join us. Yes. So we're winding down. This has been such a great conversation.
No.
It's such a great conversation. Great conversation. So, Valentine's Day is coming up. All the creative entrepreneurs, listen, if y'all got a boo, creatives and entrepreneurs, I have connected with Allie Says. And Allie Says is out of New York. And she's created this awesome thing, Derek, for Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
She is created, and I want to make sure I read it correctly. And Allie, if you are on here, please comment. If not, when you do it, when you watch the playback. So she has created a Valentine's Day brunch guide, and it's called I Love You a Brunch, which is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And so what she has done is come up with a guide that gives you a list of all of the different places that it will have amazing Valentine's Day brunches. Mm-hmm. And if you're not comfortable with going out, she's giving you ideas how to have the virtual brunch at home. And listen, down to heart-shaped waffles. I mean, it's an entire guide.
That's awesome.
And then she's also added with this, which I think is really cool, how to dress for the brunch, giving you, you're going to get the menu, where to go, and how to look, Okay. So you got any Valentine's Day, Valentine's, you got any love month ideas, anything entrepreneur-wise?
You know what? No, I don't. Actually, okay. I mean, because, it's funny because, my mom, I moved back home right before the pandemic hit. And so, so I'll probably do something with my mom.
Connect 4 registrations is coming in here, okay?
Yes, come on, Connect 4. You better come on, BB Connect 4. Come on now. This is not a game. But I mean, I think it's I think it's important time to be creative because we're in a space where that's we've never been in it before, and so I think rethinking Valentine's, rethinking how to show your love, rethinking how to do things differently. My mom and I did a virtual cooking class towards the end of last year, and it was super amazing. Like we got all the stuff, and then they had the video, and we cooked and we took pictures. But it was a great experience because it was a lot of things that we had never cooked from scratch before. And so I think that could be something that two people can do together. There's some people that are doing the virtual sip and paint. They'll send you the supplies and you can, paint via Zoom at home and things like that. So I think there's some things that people would traditionally do in public that you could still do, together with your friends. You can do it with your team, right? If you're single and you want to show love with your team, then you and your team can do some of these things together, just to show, safely, of course, but just, do some of these things with your team to show them that you love them, right? Love is all around. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be with your friends, with your family, it can be with your team, right? And so I think when you kind of open up and expand your mind to like the different ways that you can show love, leaving a handwritten note, right? Buying somebody, having like people do dirty Santa, do dirty Valentine's and create and get gifts and draw hats and straws and all this other stuff and do gift giving. You just never, there's so many things you can do.
Absolutely. So many different things you can do. So I had Dr. Marquita on back in December, and she gave us a lot of different ideas. And one thing she gave us was a card game called Skin Deep, and which I thought was so dope. And so what you do is with this deck of cards, the questions really are great questions. Like one question was, what did you learn about me this year? Questions are when I say this, how does that make you feel? Or even in the 5 languages, the 5 languages of love, taking the quiz, anything I think that brings about conversation.
Yes.
Really talking about love and showing love, that's important. And even if you don't have a significant other, there's Galentine's Day as well. This is where the girls, are hanging out, being cute, you having dinner, whatever. But whatever you do, just, continue to show love. And that's what, that's what I'm promoting. Just love.
Just love.
That's what I'm promoting.
We need listen, spread love. I always say, pour more into the world of what's lacking, pour more love into it. Like our jobs are to tip the scales and make sure it's balanced, or even over tip it so there's more love in the world. So sow more love so that we can tip these scales of all the things that are going on right now. Sow some love.
Yeah, so just sow some love. So, and so Derek, this has been an amazing conversation. I've had so much fun with you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want more of branding and marketing, Derek, how can my audience find you?
You can search Derek D. Ross on all social media platforms. My website is Derek D. Ross. See, I made it simple and easy for you to find it. So I said earlier, the D, why the D is so important is because if you Google me, I'm the first thing that shows up on the page. All of my platforms, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, I've branded myself so that I'm easy to find and easy to show up. And one way to distinguish that sometimes is just by simply adding your initial.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I did. I made sure that it was on all of my platforms. So that way, when you search me, it SEO works and all you see is me. And so whenever I show up on anybody's platform and they introduce me, don't forget the D because then it shows up. So yes. So Derek D. Ross everywhere. Clubhouse. If you got Clubhouse, come on Clubhouse and follow us.
All right, we're gonna be on Clubhouse next week. Derek gonna be on. Me and Derek are hosting a room next week on Clubhouse. We're gonna continue this conversation next week on Clubhouse. So I'll be putting a graphic up for that soon. We're gonna continue this conversation. So yes, Derek D. Ross. And so of course you know where to find me. Across all platforms. You can, look up Bridgett Battles or the BB Experience. And beginning this Saturday, I'm back on the radio 100.3 R and B with Mina Say What. And this weekend, we're discussing Valentine's Day. So make sure you tune in on Saturday when I'm back on the radio. And, Derek, I just have to tell you that, like, so many things are still racing through my mind. Like, this has just been such a great conversation. I want to add this last thing before I give you the opportunity to give closing remarks.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when you talked about the D. So a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with another creative, and he was telling me, he said, how important it is to have your name. And I was like, yeah, it is important to have your name. He's like, no, for real. He said, I went online to GoDaddy, and he said, I bought all the domains that I could get because they were on sale for like 99 cents. This is some advice to creators and entrepreneurs. He went online to GoDaddy and bought all the domains he could get that had his name in it. I was like, what? He was like, yes, even if you don't use it right now, you might use it later. Listen, when I tell you I whipped out this computer so fast, I don't know about www.meetbridgett, everything I can think of. I bought 15 domains so that even as the business continues to grow and I need to add on something else, I got all the domains.
Yes.
So that's another, tidbit I just wanted to share with all of you before we go. So make sure you follow Derek. Make sure you follow me. Please like this video, share this video, leave your comments. If we didn't get to your questions because of the delay with StreamYard, by all means, put them in the comments. Me and Derek will see them. We will definitely answer your questions and get back to you.
Yes.
So Derek, we always end with the toast. You got your coffee mug. This is what I'm saying. See, you came prepared. If Derek, any parting words to my audience tonight?
I just want to say, again, I say this all the time because I think it's worth repeating. And the more we hear it, the more it sows into us. But you are an unrepeatable, miracle, period, point blank. Right.
Don't say period, poo. Don't say that. Okay.
Huh?
Don't say period, poo. Just don't.
Just say it. You are an unrepeatable, one of a kind miracle. And you are here to do something great, to sow something great into the world. And so lean into that. Don't focus on, what other people are doing. Stay in your lane, stay focused, mute. Sometimes you got to mute, get off social media so you can hear your voice, so you can tune into your creativity. Because sometimes your creativity is blocked because you're consuming so much stuff that your own voice can't even get out. So take the time to break away from all the noise, to get quiet, to get still. And I promise you that creativity will start to flow. You'll start to feel energized. You'll start to get more connected with what you are called to do so that you can actually produce it in the world. And just, again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Take it one step at a time. And if you take that step, what's the next best step? Like Auntie O would say, then what's the next best step after that? That's gotten me through so many different times where I felt like, I was already looking down at the finish line, but I'm like, well, that's not the finish line. Hold up. That's another corner and then a dip and then an up. So let me come back. Let me not stress myself out so much far about the future, and let me focus on the present moment, being here right now, because everything you do right now is going to lead into your future. So be present minded, take one step at a time, breathe, take care of yourself, take as much rest as you need to. If you need it, take a rest. refuel yourself, and just keep going.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks with another guest on Coffee with Bridgett. And make sure you go to my website, sign up for BB Connect 4. All right, until we see you again, cheers to another great episode of Coffee with Bridgett. Cheers.
Boom. Cheers.